and then a jab to follow it up. Again with the jab.
Oh! This always sinks!
And that's exactly what I said is you
Unbelievable!
You don't do that kind of stuff. Ends up getting paying for it.
And Sagas just waited. Wow.
You might have seen this video recently with this young guy in an MMA fight doing a lot of showboating, breakdancing in front of his opponent, doing a big old wind-up parody of a Bolo Punch, kind of like Sugar Ray Leonard. I'll talk about that later. And ultimately, as he's in the middle doing his robot dance or whatever, his opponent head kicks him. And everybody on the internet was like, whoa, that's what you get for showboating. And, you know, I'm not going to say anything disparaging against this guy. I mean, props to him for getting in the cage and having the intestinal fortitude to, you know, do something like that. But at the same time, clearly, it was not the best idea. So, I think a lot of young fighters, they miss the forest for the trees when they see fighters like Michael Venom Page, or Sugar Ray Leonard, or Anderson Silva, Genki Sudo, Mohamed Ali, those guys who are really good at what's called feinting and drawing. And if you don't know what that is, feint is essentially putting yourself in a position where it appears you're vulnerable. For example, sticking your chin out there, right? And please don't confuse this with a taunt. Why am I sticking my chin out? Right in front of my opponent, toe-to-toe with them. Because I want him to throw a punch at my chin. All right? Because if I know that the punch is coming right here at that specific time, I can anticipate it, I can move my head out of the way, and I can counter. Okay? However, if you watch this MMA fight, the guy's sticking his chin out when he's 10 feet away from the other guy. Now, that's just a taunt. Nobody can hit you 10 feet away. And he's doing that Bolo Punch parody again, like 8 feet away from the other guy. If you watch the way Sugar Ray Leonard did it, again, he was much closer, and he's using this, the Bolo, as a distraction to set up his lead hand, and it, you know, is just a fantastic use of space. If you understand space, right? If you've got this spatial awareness, if you understand position first, all of your attacks will work. All right? Position first, then attack. Repeat that like a mantra every day until it is internalized. Position, then attack. Position, then attack. First position, then attack. If you're out of position, best attack in the world is useless. If you are in position, everything works. Okay? Now, let's talk about that Bolo Punch.
Confidence has grown. Now the Bolo, and he caught him with the left. And he's got Duran.
The Bolo Punch, named after the Bolo machete or the Bolo knife, Filipino tool for cutting down sugar cane. Right? The cane farmers would chop the sugar cane down with the machete by chopping from the hip. This motion, they'd bring the arm down, elbow attached to the hip to draw more power from the body, from a falling step as well, in order to generate power in the arm into that cut. Now this is a rare example of a weapon, if you will, the extension of a weapon making its way into unarmed combat. Usually it's the other way around. Generally, weapons fighting is an extension of hand-to-hand combat. But again, this is one of those rare exceptions. Now, the Bolo Punch as an attack by itself, generally it's a body shot. It telegraphs itself a bit. Generally you can see it coming. It's this big wind-up, this big step, where we can generate a bunch of power from the hip, from that step. Looks a little bit like an uppercut, a little bit like a shovel hook, except there's a swing, a big swing in the arm. Now, if you watched the 1980 fight between Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray Leonard, you'll notice at one point Sugar Ray swung his arm around like that. 2 wind-ups with his Bolo Punch, and then use that to set up his lead. That's a fantastic technique if we're in position. If I'm about, well, close enough to actually land the Bolo Punch, as Sugar Ray was, you know, he wasn't way over here, winding it up like this, you know, it was, he's actually close enough to land that, and he did exaggerate it quite a bit in that fight, but at the same time, you know, you never know if he was going to throw it as a strict bolo or not. Now, he didn't. Turned it into a nice, stiff reverse punch on the lead arm, which was just beautiful technique. And you know, we can do that, or use the punches to the head or the quick stuff like the jab to set up the bolo. Great technique. It's kind of been absent, I think, from combat sports as a technique by itself for a long time. But what I find absolutely fascinating is how almost everybody recognizes a big cartoonish wind-up, even if they've never seen that fight with Sugar Ray. Why do we recognize that? Why do we see things like this and that and think, oh, that's a cartoonish parody of boxing? I mean, we've seen that in cartoons. We've seen comedians do this sort of thing. And what are they doing? Well, they're imitating specific boxing movements that they've seen in specific fights, specifically Sugar Ray Leonard against Roberto Duran. Okay, so you'll notice he moved his feet back and forth. He did the bolo wind up. Now this part, that's a parody of the Old English boxing style when they fought bare knuckle and all that. But yeah, it's funny how if you look at that MMA fight where the dude winds up his hand, what he's really doing is an imitation of a parody, a cartoon parody of a real fighter. Now, I don't know if this dude has ever seen that fight, or if he really knows the source material for the parody of the Bolo Punch. But man, if you don't understand a technique, that's probably not the technique you want to be using in a fight. Now, if you do plan on learning and using the Bolo Punch, here's how to do it. Again, connect the elbow to the hip like that, chop it downward like an inside middle block almost, from karate, taekwondo, that sort of thing, and then swing it upward like a halfway between an uppercut and a hook, like a shovel hook. So, yes, and it will telegraph itself. Your opponent will probably see it coming. So, make sure every time you're throwing a punch, you got your other hand stuck to your head in order to block what's coming. So if I drop both hands, good night, right? So keep one up.